Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. So little update on the swing journey, Matty boy. We got a chance to play last week in Scottsdale.
We did.
Albeit it was absolutely freezing, blowing about 40 miles an hour.
Wearing 19 layers.
Wearing lots of layers, hand warmers, the full shoot match. So even from your first or your second lesson with Scott, you had mentioned that you saw your path creeping a little too much into out.
And also very shallow.
Yeah, you were
so I like 8 into out,
yeah,
2 down.
So seeing some shape and
a
things
lot
like
of
that
shape
on it.
Yeah, and I think you guys would have watched the first lesson and seen Scott basically said like, hey, like this, let that go for a bit.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. And so I did that.
Right.
But eventually I sent him a swing and he's like, how's it feeling? What's the ball flight like? I said, I'm definitely missing with some hooks and I'm seeing the path. If anything, it was getting into the 9 and 10 at times.
Right.
So he basically gave me a drill, which we'll show today. I think it just got to a point where, you know, I was starting to make the motion of getting the hip to move a little bit more laterally, the elbow to sort of stay in this orientation a bit longer. Like he said, yeah, you've made some progress there,
yeah,
but we need to start managing the path.
So you had a conversation with Scott and he gave you a little drill. We're going to talk about that today.
It's one that you've done before, yes?
Yes, yeah, it really worked great for me at the time when I was really struggling with too much shape on my golf ball.
Too much draw on
Way
your
too
ball.
much draw, and it was one of the biggest light bulb moments. It was like an absolute game changer for me.
So the spoon drill.
Spoon drill.
I will answer the first question that I know people are going to ask. So people are familiar with putting a glove under your trail armpit,
yep,
head cover. Basically, Scott is saying spoon.
Yeah.
Big fat soup spoon underneath.
Yeah.
Why would you not just use a head cover? Why are you using a spoon? So Scott, and to be honest, I texted him. I said, I've never asked you this, but why a spoon? And he replied, you know, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's slippery. You feel it.
Yeah.
And I understood that in a second. I went, okay, that makes sense because I've done this drill with a glove.
Yeah.
And after a while, I forget the glove's there.
Yeah.
So you don't apply the same pressure. It's okay if the spoon comes out in the follow through,
yeah,
but you got to keep it in the backswing. And the feedback you get from an object like that is totally different than using, you know, as I said, like a hybrid cover is what I used to do.
Right.
You'd forget it was there. But it is essentially the same drill that everyone's familiar with where you keep an object in place.
Yeah.
Essentially, Scott said my trail elbow is getting way too far behind me.
It's traveling a little bit.
Traveling, getting a little this way, and in transition, the downswing actually doing the same. So for me, having the spoon in the armpit makes the arms go a little bit more this way in the backswing. And then in the downswing, it just encourages the connection of the body and the arms to keep the club a little bit more in front of me.
Love it.
And it basically cuts the path in half for me. So if I was 8 or 9, the first time I did the drill, I'm like, okay, so now it's 4.5 to 5.
Yeah.
Today I came in and did a few, it's more like 3.
What the top coaches talk about is not trying to make golf swings perfect, but have a perfect set of matchups.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got some players who have some steepening elements in their swing. You've got players who have some shallow elements in their swing. At the minute, you've got a few too many shallow elements in your swing.
Correct.
There's a lot of movement of going round, whether that's the way that the hand pass shallows, whether that's the way the club, you know, shaft plane gets very shallow. We're adding some steepening, you know, elements to your swing right now.
Exactly that. Yeah, I started off before I saw Scott for the first time way too steep in many ways, hitting way down on it. He made some changes which made me actually really, really shallow. Now we're kind of moving back into the middle, I would say. So.
Love it. Okay, we'll hit a couple.
Hit a few?
Yeah, let's take the spoon out now. I'd love to see a couple where you just almost get that.
Sure.
Let's see that path as it was. So you would see quite a bit of closure.
So I see a lot of that going on, which, you know, that's one, me doing a poor job with impact, but also shallow, right? Too shallow, not as much
shallow,
into out.
Yeah. Strike down the head, very, very low in the face.
Kind of thin, yep. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of those. That's 7 degrees into out, 2.5 down, which is, it's just not great, right? That's not exactly where I want to be. That's kind of what the misses look like.
Okay, so let's go into, we'll just call that's probably in his iron. Let's go to
the spoon
drill. I want to watch a couple, if I can, just to start with, Matt. I'm going to move your green. I'd love you to land this right around 160.
Okay.
Good job. Excellent.
So although not dead straight, that's only 2.4 degrees into out. So you can see how it literally just cuts the path in half right away.
It does.
Wasn't a good strike, but yeah, that definitely curved less.
But I definitely think that shaft has to be, you know, he was talking like he wants for me like to have that shaft out of the golf ball. I think your shaft has to be in like you've got to be pointing the shaft at the seam of that mat on the way down.
Yeah.
Right. I think like for you, you've got to have that club basically out there to the point where that your swing literally looks as easy as that. Whereas right now it's like.
Yeah.
And it's because he's got you working trail elbow, but getting you working trail elbow, albeit is the right thing, it's just getting you working too much there, so you get this like big old like separation in here. It's just really
plus the face is shut.
That's it. So that's where I think that if you have that in there, but you've got the arms working more in front of the body, keeping that the lead arm down, so your chest is more over the ball. That's where I think you can make like much more neutral swings. That's so handsome.
Yeah, I like that one. Ooh.
Centered strike, Matty boy. 1.8 into out. Great control of the face. A great feel he actually gave me at one point when I was struggling with hooks was he basically wanted me to feel like trail hand. Literally
smack the
back of the hand off my right.
See, I think that's what he would say now, is because this, all I'm doing with this is going like that.
Yeah, that's it. It's just
all I'm doing.
Yeah. And then the chest opening up gets your start line. In
back of my left hand hits my thigh.
The back of your left hand hits your right thigh. Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I didn't get anywhere close, but it's a neutral swing.
That's quite nice as well.
Yeah.
That's all.
Just a little bit of, because if I do this, the elbow's still pointed at you.
Definitely.
Which is correct.
Yeah, inside the elbow still at me. Yeah, exactly.
So the mistake that I've been making is that I'm going, elbow's pointed at you, fine, but I'm going like this.
Exactly. The hand path doesn't bend. So if you go back up, the hand path needs to be, so you want to almost feel like there's this little hoop around you and the hand path travels on the hoop.
This way. Yeah, I'm looking forward to working on this because now I feel like I've got the pieces coming together. I think I was just, I'm sure if Scott was here, he would have said the same thing.
Yep.
You've got to get the elbow pointed at the quad, but not like this.
Yes.
Here.
Exactly.
That felt really good.
That's so good.
So I think I'll have to watch my footwork, which is one thing that Scott gets me to make sure I'm not over-rotating. Yep. But if I can pair the feeling of that back of that hand to the thigh with the sort of slight hip slide that he mentioned, I actually think I'll be in a really, I mean, that was an actual fade.
That was absolutely gorgeous.
Okay. Yeah, that's as good as of a feeling shot as I've hit.
Amazing.
Okay. Yeah. That's a much different feeling.
Some quality shots.
Some actual face control. Yeah.
Love it. Okay, those numbers 0-0 on the strike, only 1 degree up on the lie.
Lovely.
Love it.
Can we have a look at yours?
Sure. Let's do it.
Okay, so your turn. Thank you for that little lesson.
Not at all. Not at all. Just a little one little nugget that just you were making a really nice move. It was just that one thing that was.
Yeah, it's amazing how much difference that made. Just that instead of raising this shoulder, feeling it come more around. I mean, it's just completely different.
Yeah, when I saw how good you were hitting your driver today, I knew
the
that's
driver
what it
was good. Yeah.
So anytime you've got that motion, then it's favourable to a driver. It's not favourable to an iron.
Such a good point. Okay, so this is kind of cool actually because you're doing a drill that is kind of similar to what I was doing with the spoon in my trail armpit.
Yep.
You've got a little Sharpie on your lead armpit, which is your left.
Little pointer.
Yeah.
On my lead. Yeah. So, you know, the connection part is a good thing. But for me, and what Scott wanted me to do was he wanted my rib cage to outrace
Yes.
the sort of rotation of the head. So
I remember him saying that in your last lesson.
just getting too much sort of that way. So he wanted me going sort of more that way.
Yes.
And then that way we can kind of get the nice low exits.
Uh-huh.
I was practicing, or actually when we were away last week, I'm trying not to be golf swing orientated or too focused on golf swing. And what did I see? Sure enough, I saw lots of high exits. So for me, when I really start kind of, I don't know, I guess maybe getting off track, I start seeing way too much of, not bad in the backswing, but, some really high finishes like that.
Gotcha. So, so basically for people's reference, like hands moving high and to the right.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
So what does the Sharpie, like what changes when you put that under your arm?
So the big thing for me is it moves past, like we said about you, Matty boy, it's almost just like trying to flip the values.
Right, so there you were about 4 end out, couple down. You want to be 4 down,
shallow.
couple end out.
Exactly,
Yeah.
that's literally it. So by me trying to keep the Sharpie, I just try and point the Sharpie towards the target at impact, so it kind of delays the head and opens the chest.
Ah, okay.
Right, so if I keep the Sharpie pointing, it's even right now it's pointing at you.
Yeah.
Right, or certainly over in that space. For me, I want to get that going. I want to at least going out that way, but target
the left?
side, yeah. I want it pointing left of the quad. So for me, that's going to start to look very, very different. So as long as I get my nice shallow in move,
Right.
and then rotate
Pointing.
properly.
Yeah,
It
I like
should
that.
come out something like that.
Very low hands there. So what's funny is when you, because we literally just talked about this, right before we hit record, I thought you were going to be doing a spoon drill on the lead side,
Yeah.
and it was about pressure into
Yeah.
the side. But what I'm hearing is it's not really about you trying to compress your lead arm into your body. It's actually you're physically using the marker as a pointer.
I'm trying to use it as an actual pointer, and like it's literally a point of reference. So there's a race between the marker and the club head.
Yeah.
And if the club head wins the race, I get the left.
Makes
if
sense.
the marker wins the race, I get that nice can almost into out fade.
Yeah.
I mean, those numbers are quite nice. Dynamic triangles obviously moved a lot.
I love to see that. And you get a little bit steeper on it and less end out.
Yeah, and then start to get some spin. Those are things that I've
good.
not really had too much of in the way of spin. So
For someone that wants to do this drill, you don't need to squeeze the hell out of the marker. You just keep it there.
I think just having it there as a point of reference.
Yeah.
You can use it for so many different things. I mean, for me, one of the things in transition I like to feel is, as I'm transitioning, I like to feel more pressure. I like to load the lead arm.
Which is what Scott told you to do.
Yeah. I like to
So
really
you
feel.
squeeze the marker in transition.
Exactly.
Yep.
So there's a little bit of squeeze into it if you can, and then from there, it's just a case of making sure that we get get the marker ahead of the club head. The minute I go too much there,
Yeah.
we're dead.
So the marker
Too shallow.
was still pointing directly at the quad and the club pass. You want to literally take the butt end of the marker and point it right at the screen where the ball is going to fly. Yeah, it looks really good.
Just kind of keeps me turning, keeps me rotating.
And that's like a 1.5 yard draw.
Yeah.
Which you wouldn't be upset with. Yeah, so you did exactly what you said. You started basically with these numbers flipped. So now you're about 4.5, 5 down, just a couple end out. Yeah, it's nice.
So I'm really feeling, a more rounded golf swing. Not feeling nearly as high and tilty.
That's great because you really just produced the same shot twice there. Good.
We're getting there.
We're getting there. As you can see, Ian's having a little bit easier time with his update. But I think this week I'm excited to practice now that I can have that little change to the feel.
Yeah.
Because I think everything Scott's told me is coming together, but I was not getting in a very good impact position, but now I can see why.
Definitely.
So a little update for you guys. Yeah, we're both practicing a lot, hitting a lot of golf balls.
Yeah.
I know I was a little bit, off and kind of felt a bit discouraged, but to be honest, we've definitely made a lot of progress over the last 6-7 weeks.
No doubt about it. You can see that.
It's coming along. We just have to keep being patient with it, I think. So next time we'll see Scott, I believe, is 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, 13th.
13th.
Yeah, Monday
Today
13th.
is the 27th of February. So our next swing video you'll see that week. In between, follow us both on Instagram. I will continue to post. I try to post almost once a day or so, even if we're the same rep sometimes.
Yeah.
But keep following us and you'll see updates in between. And then we'll be back for a lesson in a couple weeks.
Can't wait.
Awesome. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.